Hey folks, we're going to talk about something today that might be a little divisive. A friend of the channel sent me this meme the other day. Now, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist. I can't speak to the efficacy of vaccines, or especially the vaccines that are out because of COVID. I can't speak to their efficiency. I can't speak to the risks. I can't speak to any of that kind of stuff. I don't know enough about those things to offer any kind of authoritative voice on the matter. But I will tell you that Jesus doesn't hate them. Jesus does not hate vaccines. The premise, my understanding, the premise of a vaccine is to boost our natural immune systems. And when a community comes together and the majority of people in that community all boost their immune systems, a virus that comes into that community that the vaccine is targeting doesn't have a place to start. It can't gain a foothold. It can't gain a beachhead. And when it can't gain a beachhead, it can't mutate. It can't spread. It can't get to those people who haven't been vaccinated. It can't get to those people who can't be vaccinated because of other medical issues. So those of us who have been vaccinated, those of us who are healthy enough to be vaccinated, we end up, through that act, of supporting our community. We end up, by being vaccinated, helping out the most vulnerable in our communities. Yes, I'm a pretty healthy guy. And yes, I am going to get vaccinated. Not because I'm unhealthy, not because I'm afraid that if I caught this disease that it would kill me, but because if I can be vaccinated and my immune system boosted against it, I'm one less person that the virus can use to spread itself throughout my town, throughout the community that I live in. I did a Google search the other day. And I literally typed in, what does the Bible say about vaccinations? And you know, there's actually some really, really good articles out there. I'm going to include one or two in the description of this video. But a lot of times the Bible speaks what it says about vaccinations, and it doesn't say anything specifically about vaccinations. So let's be very clear on that. At no point does the Bible say anything specifically about vaccinations. What verses do come up can be taken from either side. Don't you know your body's a temple, and if you destroy if you destroy the temple, the Lord will destroy you? 1 Corinthians chapter 3. That can be taken from either direction, if we're only looking at that verse. I shouldn't give myself a vaccination because I'm destroying the temple. Or the other side is, I should get the vaccination because I'm improving the temple. I'm building up the temple. I'm equipping the temple. Which one of those two interpretations hold the most water? Well, that comes back to understanding why Paul wrote that letter to the church in Corinth. The letter was written to a community. It wasn't written to an individual person. It wasn't written as a letter to individual people. Paul wrote that letter because the church in Corinth was going through division. They were fighting. They were fighting about who to follow. Who was the best teacher? Who was the right teacher? Who should they listen to? Paul heard about this after he had left Corinth. He was writing the letter to get them to knock it off, to remind them that we are unified in Christ. This passage where he says, remember that your body is a temple. Yes, he is speaking to individuals that we should care for this wonderful, marvelous thing that the Lord has given us, our bodies. but he's also using it as a reminder. The church is a temple. The congregation is a temple. They are all pieces of that congregation. They have a responsibility to that congregation. They have a responsibility to that holy place that they know to be a collection of believers. That temple. This passage to me speaks of community. It speaks of honoring and respecting the community. Vaccines aren't meant to tear us down. Vaccines aren't meant to destroy us. Vaccines aren't meant to control us. A vaccine is a boost to our immune system, our individual immune systems. And when enough of us experience that boost, when enough of us have that boost, it boosts the collective immune system of our communities. Jesus doesn't hate vaccines. Jesus doesn't hate anything that builds up people. Jesus doesn't hate anything that builds up a community, that protects the vulnerable. This would be seen, I suspect, as a form of sacrifice. This would be seen as an act of love for people that you don't even know, for people that you may know, but you don't know are unhealthy. It's an act of love for people you may not know yet. May the Lord bless you. May the Lord keep you. May the Lord's face be made to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord's countenance be lifted up to you. May you always know the peace of being in the Lord's presence. And I pray that through this wild part of our lives, this wild era that we're experiencing, that you would not be overwhelmed with the volume of information that's being thrust upon you. That you would not feel overwhelmed by the volume of decisions you are being asked to make. That you will find rest and comfort from the fatigue we are all experiencing. Amen.